The West Marches discussion has 14 competing standards, which is ridiculous. By the end of this video, I'll have made it 15. Hey there, I'm Permanent DM, the creator of the game All Mice Die, and today's topic is about open table play and some of the terms and subcategories that can make finding the right game for you way harder than it needs to be. I am obviously the infallible ultimate authority on things, so step one is to learn you how words good so you can game good. Open tables are games with a larger set of players than just the players who are there every single game. An open table might have 3 regulars and a rotating cast of 20 that filled the 2 or 3 seats, or it might be a new group every time. Let's talk about 3 different types and what might be best for you as a player and as a DM. All these games involve a playstyle where one or more game masters are running from a pool of players, and the cast of characters in the game and the players and the table are intentionally dynamic. This is generally to accommodate various schedules and to get more games played across more people. A standard open table game is one where the cast of characters change regularly, and maybe there is some narrative being played or a dungeon being delved, but the focus is on the ease of bringing new people into and out of a session. Open table games are excellent for your beer and pretzel style play, where you want to jump straight into the action and roll some heads and bash some dice. These games are also a great introduction point for people and groups. In my city, we have a group of open tables that run every Wednesday night, which share a pool of about 40 players. Half dozen game masters and storytellers playing many different types of games. Open table games are great in that environment because it lets you just vibe with the other players, meet new people, and get things going. Open table games might also have the benefit of having repeatable adventures, where a DM can play through an adventure many times, but is unlikely to repeat with any individual person. In an open table game, the characters tend to be specific to the game or the person running the game. You don't have a mothership character joining into a D&D 5e game. If something is requested by the players or pre-planned for an open table, it's likely someone wanting to run a specific system rather than a specific adventure. A living game is a bit different and has some of the same elements of an open table game, just written a bit larger. A living game picks a system and uses rules that allow a player to move between the tables and play in different adventures. These adventures are assumed to be written from a list of things that different DMs will run. This might also be called an Adventures League play these days, but the reasons I call it a living game is from the antecedent of the modern Adventures League play called Live in Forgotten Realms, which itself is calling back to something before it called Living Greyhawk. Similar to an open table, it is unlikely to play through an adventure multiple times on the same adventure, although some players may choose to play through a particular adventure more than once using different characters. Oftentimes, living games will have a seasonal nature to them, where the group of adventurers get to run through several times, and then the overall results are averaged, and they find out what the most likely thing that happened in the world actually was. You determine the canon after the fact. If the adventure was to go to deal with the necromancer in the Tomb of the Barbarian Kings, some groups might resolve that by murdering the necromancer, and some by making a bargain with them. In a seasonal living game, they would run that adventure a few times and then pick the one that was the most common to be the true answer, and they advance the story and the world based on that result. A DM in a living system is also developing and learning a catalog of adventures to pull from. For example, there's a quick look at my catalog from when I was running a 4th edition living D&D game. A West Marches game, or a true West Marches game, can be defined in many ways, but I'm mostly going to be focusing here on how it compares to the other 2 types. Like a living game, a West Marches game involves a group of playing characters that persist between sessions and tables, and players can take those characters and move freely between the tables. The key difference here is in the persistent nature of the world itself. In an open table, it's possible to run every session as unique, or for the session to be part of a group of modules that the game master runs. Those both work. In a living game, the idea is that every game session is repeatable and labeled so you know which ones you have and haven't played. In a West Marches game, the assumption is that none of the games are repeatable. The group that goes and kills the necromancer is the only group that went to kill them, and they get that reward. Okay, so the terms are defined, but why would you want to do one more than the other? Well, if your group is very casual, interested in many systems and many playstyles, and is uninterested in cohesion between tables, you'll probably want an open table. This does mean that some people who are there for longer story arcs or who want to play specific characters in many different tables are going to have a harder time doing it. Oftentimes, these open table groups serve as launching pads for other styles of games and are focused on getting new players into the hobby or getting new people at the same table to meet each other, or even new DMs behind the screen and new friendships being made. DMs are also able to prep a little or a lot depending on their own personal style, but they are going to struggle to tell involved multi-session stories just due to the rotating cast of characters. If your group is a little bit more organized, but doesn't want as much involvement between sessions and or your DM wants to focus on prep that can be easily reused many times, then you might want a living game. The catalog that is developed by DMs who run their adventures over and over again can lead to a more polished experience than an open table, as a DM can refine their adventures as they go and feel justified in putting in the extra effort for each session. Getting pretty maps, custom monsters, minis, splash screens, handouts, if they know they're going to be reused. Players can also request what adventures they want to go on and have a bit more agency in their play, and they can share their experiences playing through the adventures with other players who played through the same thing. One of the positives of the modern D&D 5e style big book adventures like Curse of Strahd is that two people could play the same adventure in completely different situations and have a lot of fun talking about how their different groups handled what should be, broadly speaking, the same adventure. This system does, however, require more planning and sticking to a single system and a single rule set shared between the entire group, and that can be a burden for planners. And it's just one more thing for potential new players to have to learn to deal with. The world can also feel a little gamey as it doesn't progress, or if you're using a seasonal nature, it does progress slowly. If your group wants a community to be part of and in and out of session and wants a lot of agency in determining their game and goals, then you will want a West Marches table. West Marches provide a dynamic world that's always changing, and the players are always organizing, planning, and plotting their next move. The community aspect, both in having people to talk to and having communal goals, is a major draw for this style of play, but this focus on community also has community-related downsides. Not only does this mean that you will need to be especially wary of in-groups and people feeling like they're outcasts when things are getting formed, but your community members will also have to wrestle with a fear of missing out. I've got a whole video on that, actually. In open tables, there is a main story to miss out on, unless there is generally ones that are repeatable, but people don't really know that. In living games, if you miss out on session 4 of Cult 4, Hand of the Masters, you can always make it to the next time that adventure gets run, or be the person requesting it yourself. In a West Marches game, if you can't make the assault on the Necromancer's Keep, or even worse, you can make it, but there isn't room for you to play in that particular session, you might have to watch from the sidelines and only be able to deal with the situation after the fact. For some dungeon masters that feel of constantly changing and evolving world, it's intoxicating. But anything that requires prep feels almost wasted unless it's really repeatable, especially if that type of prep is one that you really don't enjoy doing. Get the map for the Necromancer's Tower looking perfect? Sure. You can probably reuse that several times, but spending extra time finding the perfect mini or token or art for the Necromancer or their minions, probably not worth it if you're running it once rather than setting it up for something you could run a dozen times. If you like what I'm doing here, and all the stuff that I'm talking about sounds like it might be useful to you at your table, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe, hit the bell button so you know what's going on, and consider supporting me on Patreon if you want access to more cool stuff. My West Marches game, All Mice Die, is launching on Kickstarter soon, so if you want to hear about that, there's a link in the description below, and you can keep the conversation going by joining my Discord server. Because at the end of the day, West Marches is all about community. Until next time, thanks for watching.